Question for you, Tank. At 147, how does a fight with you and Terence Crawford look?
147. Shit, if I
147.
tap that chin, you know he going to sleep.
I already know.
I
already know
he
he
ain't
is.
got no chin.
I already know he is.
He said no chance.
You know, he got the confidence in himself that he believed that he can do that because he's been knocking all these fighters out that he's been in the ring with. You know, so
Gervonta "Tank" Davis has sent a strong message to Terence Crawford, saying he could beat him if they fought at 147 pounds. After knocking out Frank Martin, Davis improved his perfect record to 30 wins. Boxing. Fans are still talking about his amazing victory, and many now see him as one of the biggest stars in the sport. It looks like Davis has an even brighter future ahead. Sports analyst Stephen A. Smith said, "We can argue about who the best pound-for-pound boxer is. But one thing is clear. There's no debate about who the most exciting and popular fighter is. That's Gervonta Davis. We just have to accept it." Smith added that Terence Crawford, Canelo Alvarez, and David Benavidez should still be in the top 5 pound-for-pound rankings. He admitted these rankings are based on opinion, but made it clear that Davis is the most exciting boxer today. Even though the pay-per-view numbers for Davis versus Martin were lower than expected, Davis still got a lot of attention. It's clear he knows how to sell fights better than anyone else right now. That's the key point in Stephen A. Smith's argument. In a boxing world filled with technically great fighters like Terence Crawford, Alexander Usyk, Naoya Inoue, and Canelo Alvarez, Gervonta Davis stands out. Not just for his skills, but for his star power and ability to draw big crowds. There's a big debate in boxing right now about who truly rules the sport. According to Stephen A. Smith, Gervonta "Tank" Davis is quickly becoming the top name in boxing today. One of Davis's former opponents, Liam Walsh, is impressed by how much Davis has grown. He sees him as a powerful and dangerous fighter who could become one of the greatest. There are rumors that Davis might fight IBF champion Vasily Lomachenko soon. Walsh believes that to prove he's truly elite, Davis needs to beat someone of Lomachenko's level. Walsh said his brother Ryan texted him right after Davis knocked out Frank Martin and simply said, "Special. I told Ryan, he's more than just powerful. He's very, very special," Walsh explained. Although Walsh didn't spend much time with Davis and doesn't claim to be an expert, he said fighting Tank felt like no other experience. He believes Tank must fight someone like Lomachenko to really be seen as one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world. Walsh also shared how much he respects Tank, especially knowing that Davis grew up in tough conditions in Baltimore and spent time in foster care. Now, Davis has built a life where he can take care of himself and his kids. What impressed Walsh the most wasn't just Davis's power. It was his incredible timing, accuracy, and ability to judge distance. People talk about his power, but no, one mentions how accurate he is. When he throws a punch, it lands clean, right on the chin, not the cheek or side of the head. That's special. Walsh believes Tank's best win so far was when he beat Jose Pedraza in New York to become a champion. He also praised Tank's wins over other well-known fighters, but still thinks Davis needs to beat bigger names to reach the next level. Liam Walsh talked about Gervonta "Tank" Davis's past opponents, including Yuriorkis Gamboa and Isaac "Pitbull" Cruz. He said that Cruz's performance looks even better now, and he would love to see Davis fight Vasily Lomachenko, a fighter Walsh deeply respects. Walsh said, "The longer we wait and the better Tank looks, I start to wonder, can he beat Lomachenko? I think he has the edge because of his knockout power. I don't think Lomachenko can really hurt Tank, but Tank can knock him out at any moment if the fight is close." Walsh used to think Devin Haney would beat Tank because of Haney's safe and careful style, but now he's not so sure. He thinks Tank might be able to beat all of them. He admitted that Teofimo Lopez would be a tough test because of his size, and also mentioned Shakur Stevenson as someone who could beat everyone. Shakur is super talented and thinks differently than most. He's special, Walsh said. Tank is elite too. He just needs to fight the top names. Walsh pointed out how Shakur fought Oscar Valdez in 2022 and made him look like an average fighter. He believes Tank is not only better in the ring now, but also growing as a public figure. He was already a great fighter when he faced me, but now he believes in himself more. When I fought him, there was still a little doubt in him, but after the Pedraza win, he looked unbeatable. Now, Walsh says, Tank walks into the ring knowing he's the best. That confidence comes from experience. Even if he loses a few rounds, he stays calm because he knows he'll catch his opponent eventually. Walsh said Davis has gotten really good at reading his opponents, showing just how much he's improved since he left Mayweather Promotions in 2022. That split from Floyd Mayweather, one of the biggest names in boxing, seems to have been a major turning point in Davis's career. Since then, he's faced strong opponents like Rolando Raleigh Romero, Hector Luis Garcia, Ryan Garcia, and Frank Martin. Boxing expert Showbiz the Adult shared his thoughts too. He believes Davis made the right choice by parting ways with Mayweather, especially with recent signs of tension showing up on social media after Davis's win over Martin and the exit of Leonard Ellerbay from Mayweather Promotions. Showbiz explained why he thinks it was a smart move. Floyd's focus has shifted. He's more about money now than legacy. When he trains fighters, it's not about building greatness. It's about making money.
Honestly, I'm not sure how good Floyd is for fighters because Floyd thinks like money. He doesn't think like pretty boy. So when he's bringing his fighters up, he thinks money. Currency over legacy. That hurts a fighter career. It does. That's why I said Tank has arrived. And a lot of you guys said Tank's been here. I said, no, Tank has arrived now. He's his own man. I remember when Floyd Mayweather arrived. I remember when he left Bob Arrow. I remember when Roy Jones Jr. arrived. I remember when he left his father, bruh. And that's right now for Gervonta.
Boxing commentator Showbiz the Adult believes that Floyd Mayweather's actions could actually hurt a boxer's career in the long run. He pointed to the moment when Gervonta "Tank" Davis left Mayweather Promotions. As a major turning point, Tank has arrived. He's his own man now, Showbiz said. It's worth mentioning that Mayweather Promotions doesn't have many big-name fighters anymore. Their most talked-about prospect, Kermel Moton, has only had 3 professional fights so far. In a surprising move, Leonard Ellerbay stepped down as CEO of Mayweather Promotions. Richard Schaefer is now taking over. This kind of sudden leadership change can make people question the stability of the company. Meanwhile, things have been heating up between Mayweather and Davis online. Their relationship started back in 2015 and improved over time, but it recently took a turn. Mayweather made a vague comment about some boxers spending too much money instead of investing it. Davis took offense, believing Mayweather was talking about him. In response, Davis spread rumors online that Mayweather was stuck in Dubai with money problems. Since then, the two have been trading jabs on social media. Mayweather even claimed Davis's fight with Frank Martin was canceled and told fans to watch a UFC fight instead. This made Davis furious. After Leonard Ellerbay resigned, Davis fired back online saying, "If you sign with this fraud, he'll ruin your career." He's not a good businessman at all. Davis's comments support what Showbiz has been saying, that leaving Mayweather might be the best thing that's happened to Tank. Since the split, Davis has landed bigger, more successful fights. Even though Mayweather Promotions is struggling, it hasn't completely collapsed yet. There might still be hope for them. In the middle of all this, reporters asked former 2-division world champion Timothy Bradley about a possible fight between Shakur Stevenson and Gervonta Davis. Bradley was confident. He thinks Stevenson can beat Tank. The conversation came up during an interview, as Bradley was giving advice to Stevenson before his fight with Artem Harutyunyan. Timothy Bradley was asked if he had any advice for Shakur Stevenson ahead of a possible fight with Gervonta "Tank" Davis. Bradley didn't hold back. He said, "Shakur doesn't need any tips from him. Shakur's that guy," Bradley said. "Call it what you want, but he's not going to stay with Top Rank forever. Say what you want about him, but he knows what to do." Shakur Stevenson, focused and Confident, is setting his sights on dominating the 135-pound division. After his fight on July 6th, he plans to step back, adjust his strategy, and come back stronger than ever, ready to show the world just how good he really is. Bradley added, "Trust me, he knows he has it in him. He's different, cut from a different cloth." Another reporter asked Bradley if Shakur is the one to beat Tank. Bradley answered without hesitation, Yeah. Some people in the room laughed, but Bradley was serious and clearly annoyed. "Call me a hater, I don't care," he said. "Keep bringing that hate. I love it. Yes, he beats Tank. He outboxes him easily. No problem at all." In a recent interview with Jeff Zimmerman of Fight Hype, Shakur Stevenson compared a future fight against Tank Davis to a modern-day version of Roberto Duran versus Sugar Ray Leonard. He dismissed any comparison to Tommy Hearns versus Leonard and confidently stated, "I'm 100% sure I'll win. We'll see each other when the time is right." A showdown between Shakur Stevenson and Gervonta Davis is shaping up to be one of the biggest fights on the horizon. For Shakur Stevenson, a fight with Gervonta Tank Davis could be a huge chance to prove himself as one of the best in boxing. Even if he loses, history shows that fighters who face Tank often gain more attention and respect afterward. If things don't go his way, Shakur can still move up to a higher weight class, build his legacy, and earn bigger paydays. On the other side, Teofimo Lopez has made it clear that he views Tank Davis as a fighter who's been protected throughout his career. Lopez says that his own path has been much tougher. He remembers sparring with Tank when he was just 15 and Tank was 18. During that session, Tank hit him in the nose and hurt his own hand, then complained about the pain. Lopez uses this moment as an example of their different mentalities. Lopez says that while Tank was carefully guided by Floyd Mayweather, he himself had to take on tough challenges early in his career, like fighting Vasily Lomachenko when the Ukrainian champion was still at his peak in 2020. Meanwhile, Tank is only just now talking about fighting the 36-year-old Lomachenko, possibly in November, if the two sides can agree on terms. Critics have often said that Tank's team has played it safe, avoiding big names like Lomachenko, Lopez, Shakur, Stevenson, Jaron Boots Ennis, Terence Crawford, and Keyshawn Davis. Lopez seems to hold some frustration over this, especially since he's fought dangerous opponents like Lomachenko, George Kambosos Jr., and Jermaine Ortiz, yet hasn't received the same spotlight as Tank. Lopez admits that both he and Tank have speed, power, and high boxing IQ. But he believes the difference is that he wasn't protected. He proved his toughness by fighting through injuries without complaining.
We got speed, we got power, we got IQ, but there's a difference between me and him. I didn't get babied into this. I'm really like that. I'm like that. Like, I don't care. Blood, sweat, and tears. I don't wipe the blood when I'm bleeding. I fight. That's part of the life. Him, he complains. I remember when we sparred, he hit me in my big ass nose and he up his hand. He was like, shit, And I was 15. He was, I think, 4-0 and 4 knockouts, or 6-0 and 6 knockouts at 18. And, you know, all that. I know he still remembers that to this day.
For Shakur Stevenson, fighting Gervonta Tank Davis could be a big chance to show he's one of the best boxers in the world. Even if he loses, history shows that fighters who face Tank often become more popular and respected. If the fight doesn't go his way, Shakur can still move up to a higher weight class, build his legacy, and make more money. On the other hand, Teofimo Lopez believes Tank Davis has had an easier path in boxing. Lopez thinks Tank has been protected by his team for most of his career. He remembers sparring with Tank when he was 15 and Tank was 18. During that session, Tank hurt his hand when he hit Lopez in the nose and then complained about it. Lopez says this shows the difference in their mental toughness. Lopez says that while Tank had Floyd Mayweather guiding his career carefully, he had to take big risks early, like fighting Vasily Lomachenko in 2020 when Lomachenko was still at his best. Meanwhile, Tank is only now thinking about fighting the 36-year-old Lomachenko, possibly later this year, if they can agree on the fight. Many boxing fans and critics have said Tank's team has avoided tough fights against guys like Lomachenko, Lopez, Shakur Stevenson, Jaron Boots Ennis, Terence Crawford, and Keyshawn Davis. Lopez seems frustrated, especially since he's faced fighters like Lomachenko, George Kambosos Jr., and Jermaine Ortiz, but hasn't become as famous as Tank. Lopez agrees that both he and Tank have speed, power, and strong boxing skills, but he says the big difference is that he wasn't protected. He had to prove himself the hard way, even fighting through injuries without making excuses. Teofimo, Lopez casually said, "We can fight at a catchweight. I'm not scared of these guys." Meanwhile, on a recent episode of the All the Smoke podcast hosted by NBA stars Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes, boxing legend Andre Ward got fans talking by sharing some exciting dream fights he wants to see happen. When Jackson asked, "What's the one fight the world needs right now?" Ward paused and said, "Oh man, that's a good one." That opened the door for him to give his thoughts on some of boxing's most wanted matchups. Ward said he'd like to see Canelo Alvarez fight either Terence Crawford or David Benavidez. He explained that Canelo has two choices: fight someone his own size or go after a smaller opponent like Crawford. Still, Ward made his confidence in Crawford very clear. "I'm not betting against Terence, against anybody. I'm not doing it." But Ward didn't stop there. He said he'd also love to see Gervonta "Tank" Davis fight either Shakur Stevenson or Devin Haney. He admitted those fights might need a little more time to build, but said they'd be great financially and exciting for the fans. The hosts agreed, especially about the idea of Tank versus Shakur. One of them said, "I want to see Tank versus Shakur. That's the fight." Ward nodded and agreed completely. Andre Ward added an interesting twist about Terence Crawford, also known as Bud. He said that Crawford didn't really spar much with him, but he still wants to see Bud go out the way he wants. Ward then brought up a potential rematch between Crawford and Errol Spence Jr., asking, maybe they could run that fight back. But if not, Ward said he'd love to see Crawford fight Canelo and then retire on his own terms. Ward's comments sparked excitement as he discussed many possible big fights and showcased his deep knowledge of boxing. His ideas about matchups, from Canelo's tough fights to Crawford's potential championship challenges, made fans and experts think about what could come next in the sport. Meanwhile, Eddie Hearn, the promoter of Matchroom Boxing, thinks that both Tank Davis and Terence Crawford should fight more often, at least 3 times a year. Hearn believes that both champions should stay active to keep their star power growing. "You've got to stay active," Hearn said. "Terence Crawford's going to be out of the ring for nearly a year again. Take your fight to Omaha, defend your world titles, and make millions. Don't let people forget about you." Crawford is currently looking forward to a chance to fight for both the WBC and WBO super welterweight titles, being the super champion. In the welterweight division gives Crawford the ability to challenge for any title at any weight class whenever he wants, according to the WBO. Terence Crawford is looking to be involved in the upcoming fight between Tim Tszyu and Sebastian Fundora. However, since the fight is happening this weekend, Crawford expects a 3-month delay before he can get back into the ring himself. It's been 8 months since Crawford defeated Errol Spence Jr., and as time goes by, Crawford is getting older. World Boxing News is considering dropping Crawford's position in the pound-for-pound rankings because he's only fought 4 times in the last 4 years. They believe that elite fighters should stay sharp, even if they only fight once a year, especially with competitors like Jaron Ennis and Virgil Ortiz in his weight class. Crawford now faces a big decision. Should he give up his remaining titles to focus on moving up to the 154-pound division? Or should he try to keep his 147-pound titles while also chasing 2 super welterweight championships? Eddie Hearn also thinks that Tank Davis needs to be more active in the ring. Hearn wanted to sign Davis himself, but since that didn't happen, he hopes that Tank will fight more often, like he suggested. Hearn said, "Davis is a superstar, but he needs to fight more. These guys need to be fighting 3 times a year. In boxing, it's a common topic that many big names spend more time out of the ring than in it, which is why Hearn's comments are important. Meanwhile, Gervonta "Tank" Davis, known for his incredible power and